Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Chesterton's Jest, where we keep a critical eye on faith and culture, especially within the Catholic Church today. In an age where even church teachings seem to be shifting, we're here to explore and question the ideas and changes that challenge timeless truths. Through thought-provoking, often humorous perspectives, we aim to bring clarity to conversations others might avoid, holding fast to orthodoxy with the courage to question what feels off track. If you would like to join us as we dig deeper into the faith with reverence, wit, and a touch of Chestertonian insight, you can support this channel by gently pressing the like, share, and subscribe buttons in that order, and we thank you for your support. And now, without further ado, Vatican II, a call for renewal, but at what cost? Chapter 1. The Intentions, a church called to renewal. Vatican II, convened in the early 1960s, was heralded as a bold attempt to renew and revitalize the church for the modern world. The Vatican, sensing the seismic shifts in society, world wars, secularization, and increasing political complexity, sought to engage the world while preserving the essence of the faith. The Council's intentions were clear: to make the Church more accessible, to encourage dialogue between Catholics and non-Catholics, and to deepen the participation of the laity in the liturgy and the life of the Church. Vatican II was, in theory, the answer to the Church's struggle to connect with a rapidly changing world, an attempt to open the windows and let in fresh air. The reforms were aimed at fostering greater unity among Christians and addressing the social and moral challenges of the modern age. It encouraged ecumenism, embraced religious freedom, and promoted social justice. It called for liturgical reform to bring the Mass closer to the people, offering the vernacular as a way to enhance participation in the sacred mysteries. But good intentions don't always translate into positive outcomes. The shift toward greater inclusivity opened doors that the Church may not have fully understood how to close again. The spirit of Vatican II, as it was later called, became a license for reinterpreting the doctrines of the Church in ways that were often contradictory to the very orthodoxy the Council had hoped to preserve. Chapter 2. The Unintended Consequences, a church torn between tradition and secularism. Vatican II may have sought to renew the Church's engagement with the modern world, but it unintentionally loosened the Church's grip on its own timeless truths. What began as a pastoral spiritual initiative soon became a fracturing of the Church's identity. The Council's ambiguities, particularly in documents like Gaudium et Spes on the Church in the modern world, and Nostra Aetate on relations with non-Christians, allowed for interpretations that diverged from the Church's traditional teaching. The embrace of ecumenism and religious freedom, while good in intent, quickly evolved into an uncritical acceptance of pluralism. Where the Church once held that Christ is the only way to salvation, after Vatican II, there was confusion about whether non-Christian religions could be seen as legitimate paths to salvation. The idea of shared truth became more important than the proclamation of absolute truth, leading some within the Church to question the very uniqueness of Christianity. The liturgical reforms, which allowed for the Mass to be celebrated in the vernacular, also removed the awe and reverence that had been a hallmark of Catholic worship for centuries. The traditional Latin Mass, with its solemnity and universality, was replaced by a liturgy that, in many places, became casual and community-centered rather than God-centered. While the goal was to encourage more participation from the laity, the outcome was often a loss of mystery, an increasingly secularized church that blended its role as spiritual authority with worldly concerns. Environmentalism, as a political and secular cause, became another area where the Church's engagement with the modern world began to cloud its focus on spiritual salvation. The Church's involvement in secular environmental movements has led to confusion about the nature of creation and its rightful place within God's divine order. What should have been a moral imperative rooted in divine law instead became a politically charged moral issue, further dividing the Church's mission from the eternal truths of the faith. Chapter 3. The Rise of Modernism and Relativism. The Doors Opened to Secularism. The spirit of Vatican II gave way to a gradual acceptance of secular ideologies that sought to reshape the Church's teachings on morality, truth, and authority. Modernism, which had been condemned by previous popes, began to creep back into the life of the Church, aided by Vatican II's broad, often vague statements. The documents of the Council did not provide clarity in every case, and this left room for reinterpretation by theologians, bishops, and lay people alike. The liberalizing tendencies that followed the Council turned the Church into a platform for discussions on social justice, economic redistribution, and political activism, often rooted in secular and socialist ideologies. While these concerns are not inherently evil, the Church's new role as a political entity contributed to the erosion of its role as the custodian of divine truth. The moral clarity of the Church was replaced by an ambiguous call to engage with the world, where the focus was shifted from salvation to social issues. The rise of relativism, which gained momentum in the wake of Vatican II, further undermined the authority of the Church. The moral relativism that permeated the Church's post-Vatican II engagement with modern society encouraged Catholics to question absolute truths about salvation, marriage, and family life. Doctrines that had once been considered inviolable were now open for reinterpretation. In effect, the Church became less of a spiritual fortress and more of a secular institution that had difficulty maintaining its spiritual authority in the face of a rapidly changing world. Chapter 4. Social Justice, a true Catholic teaching but out of order. The Church's call for social justice is an essential aspect of its mission, rooted in the natural law and the teachings of Christ. The faithful are called to care for the poor, defend human dignity, and promote the common good. However, the manner in which social justice was framed after Vatican II became problematic, particularly when it aligned the Church with secular political ideologies. The Church's concern for justice began to shift from spiritual salvation to political activism, at times conflating the two. While environmentalism, poverty, and human rights are matters of great moral concern, the Church's engagement with them should never come at the cost of its eternal mission, to bring souls to Christ and guide them in the way of salvation. The focus must always be on Christocentric justice, justice that is rooted in the gospel, in the natural law, and in the spiritual well-being of the human person. By losing sight of this priority, the Church has risked becoming another political actor in a world that is increasingly secular and hostile to divine truth. Environmentalism, as part of the larger movement of social justice, must be approached with caution. The Church's mission is to save souls, not to adopt secular political platforms. Environmental justice must always serve the greater purpose of upholding God's creation while protecting the human person from the threats of materialism and secularism that seek to reduce human beings to mere economic units in a world driven by profit and capitalism. Chapter 5. The Path Forward, Returning to Orthodoxy and True Renewal. While the aftermath of Vatican II has led to a host of challenges, it is critical to understand that the Council itself is not a break in tradition, but rather part of the Church's ongoing purification process. In God's providence, Vatican II has served to expose the Church's vulnerabilities to secular ideologies, leading to a purification of its core mission. The Church now finds itself at a crossroads, at a moment in history where it must return to its spiritual mission and embrace the timeless truths of the faith that were often overshadowed by political and social movements. To move forward, the Church must reclaim its traditional mission of salvation. This means returning to liturgical reverence, doctrinal clarity, and spiritual fidelity. The Church must not shy away from its call to social justice, but it must always place this within the proper context, one that places eternal salvation above temporary concerns. Environmentalism and social justice are legitimate concerns, but they must always be framed within the hierarchy of priorities established by the Church: God, family, country, and church. In this new era, the Catholic Church must embrace its role as the guardian of eternal truth. It must boldly proclaim the gospel of Christ without compromise and without being seduced by secular ideologies. The Church's social teaching, rooted in divine law, should never be co-opted by political movements that seek to diminish its spiritual authority. Chapter 6. The conclusion: embracing the challenge and moving forward in faith. Vatican II may have opened doors to confusion and secular engagement, but it was never meant to be a deal-breaker for the Church. It fits within God's providential plan to purify His bride, and it provides the Church with an opportunity to reaffirm its eternal mission. The way forward is not to abandon Vatican II, but to reclaim its true spirit, a spirit rooted in orthodoxy, liturgical reverence, and spiritual clarity. The path ahead for the Church is one of renewal, returning to the spiritual mission of salvation while still engaging with the world through a Catholic lens of justice, morality, and truth. In this way, the Church will once again be the beacon of hope, moral clarity, and spiritual authority that the world so desperately needs. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed today's video and share our passion for defending the true faith with a touch of humor, be sure to head over to chestertonsjest.com and check out our collection of bold, pro-Catholic graphic tees designed to spark conversation and inspire conviction. Whether you're looking to wear your faith proudly or share a laugh, we've got something for everyone. Visit us today and join the movement, because in times like these, it's more important than ever to stand firm in our beliefs with style and wit. As Chesterton once said, "A madman is not someone who has lost his reason. A madman is someone who has lost everything except his reason." So, let's keep our reason and our faith intact together. Thanks for listening. God bless you, and may the good Lord be praised.